right, we are just into the new month, 3 days into the month of April, the year 2022. A very good evening. Once again, thank you so much for choosing KBC Channel 1 to update you on the latest in the country and beyond.
All right, tonight President Uhuru Kenyatta has broken his silence over the ongoing culture of intolerance, or rather political intolerance. President Kenyatta responding to those perpetrating or perpetrators of this attack, saying that differences of opinion does not really mean what should be animosity. This story we have lined it up for you tonight.
Plus, on our conversation tonight on Sunday Express, did you know that 4 in every 10 children are not exclusively breastfed? And of course, also 2 million children in Kenya are stunted. These are numbers that we will be seeking to break down and also to sort of address what impact they have on the overall growth of every child in our country. I'll be engaging Veronica Kirogo. She is the Director of Nutrition and Dietetic Services at the Ministry of Health on Sunday Express tonight. So do stay with us, but first, let's get the top stories.
Usifanye siasa ya kugombanisha watu. Kwa sababu mtu ambaye anafikiria ya kwamba matusi ndio itampatia kura, ngoja ataona ashangae. Watu waombe kura kwa njia ya heshima na amani. Si namna hiyo?
President Uhuru Kenyatta calls for sobriety amid incidents of political intolerance.
We have recorded our statements. We have given them all the information that they required.
Raila attack. Western Gishu County Speaker and 2 legislators questioned by DCI.
And the dry pumps. Motorists decry fuel shortage. Once again, welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Byron Abuli. My name is Serfine Achieng.
And my name is John Jacob Kioria. Welcome to the bulletin. President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for tolerance amongst political actors ahead of the August election.
Reacting to last Friday's incident where ODM leader Raila Odinga's helicopter was pelted by stone-throwing youth, President Uhuru Kenyatta said political differences should not translate into animosity.
Pipeline Embakasi South in Nairobi. President Kenyatta was the chief guest at the Africa Inland Church pipeline. With political temperatures hitting fever pitch over the recent display of intolerance, President Kenyatta, who addressed a roadside rally after the service, called for tolerance among political actors and their supporters ahead of the August elections.
Usifanye siasa ya kugombanisha watu. Mimi nawauliza jameni. Mimi hata kwetu kule Gatondo Ishaweri, si munaona wanakuja kunitukania kwa mlango yangu. Mimi nawaangalia tu nasema Mungu waacha, mimi sina shida. Kwa sababu mtu ambaye anafikiria ya kwamba matusi ndio itampatia kura, ngoja ataona ashangae. Mimi nikisema naunga baba mkono, mimi sisemi mwingine ni umbaya, lakini kura yangu mimi najua pahali nataka iende. Ama namna gani? Si hiyo ni haki yangu? Nimekosea?
Reacting to Friday's attack on Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga's chopper, President Kenyatta said political intolerance was a recipe for chaos.
Kama kitu ingetokea hapo, hiyo jiwe iwe imeipiga huyo mzee, si hiyo ni moto ungewaka taifa letu la Kenya? Tunataka mambo kama haya. Watu waombe kura kwa njia ya heshima na amani. Si namna hiyo? Kutangaza msimamo ya mtu sio kufanya wewe ni adui yake, ni msimamo wako tu.
The head of state appealing to Kenyans to maintain peace and shun those keen on causing mayhem.
Sasa jameni, jiulize, ukiwa wewe umechukua mawe ama umechukua panga kukatakata mwenzako, badala ya kugojea miaka 5 uweze urudie, wewe ni mtu ambaye amepotea. Umepotea.
The president also sought to explain the current hardships that include the fuel shortage and the increased cost of living, blaming it on the current war between Russia and Ukraine.
Fertilizer imepanda, bei ya mafuta imepanda, na pia kumekuwa hata shortage ya mafuta. Na waomba tuwaombee hawa wenzetu wawache hizo vita, kwa sababu wakuumia ni sisi. Wakuumia ni sisi, wananchi wa Afrika, Asia na kule kwingine ambao wanategemea hayo mafuta na mambo mengine kwa maendeleo yetu.
All right, moving this forward, Kapseret lawmaker Oscar Sudi and his Soi counterpart Caleb Kositany have denied the allegations of organizing the chaotic incident in Soi that saw rowdy youth pelt Raila Odinga's helicopter with stones.
The two, who spoke after questioning by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations in Nakuru on Sunday, said the move to summon them was politically instigated.
The two later were released with the DCI confiscating their phones for further investigations.
Sunday, two legislators, Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi and his Soi counterpart Caleb Kositany, and the County Assembly Speaker for Uasin Gishu County David Kiplagat, made their way into DCI offices in Nakuru County. The trio was interrogated for hours by the police, as the police tried to uncover whether the politicians were behind the planning of an incident where the ODM party leader Raila Odinga's chopper was stoned on Friday.
We have recorded our statements. We have given them all the information that they required. I want to say that the police have been very cooperative, and we just ask the government to treat all incidences that occur fairly and with the seriousness that they have given this investigation.
After hours of interrogation, the trio, who had been summoned by authorities on Saturday, having been placed at the center of the violence, denied sponsoring and planning of the incident, further claiming they were being targeted owing to their political stand.
Yote ni siasa. Wakuwe watulivu na mtu yote asifikirie kuna anything, na hakuna mtu anaweza panga kitu ya ujinga kama ile. Polisi wenyewe wafanye investigation yao mpaka penye watapata.
No one should be accused as a leader that you organize for such a thing, and as I said inside there, I believe no leader in Uasin Gishu, no leader in Rift Valley, no leader who is appearing here organized for such.
The DCI has confiscated their phones in an attempt to unravel if indeed the trio is behind the Friday incident.
Left our mobile phones with them because they want to do a forensic audit on them, and that is okay. We are very comfortable with what is happening.
Meanwhile, the incident continues drawing widespread condemnation, with the clergy and the political class calling for tolerance as the nation gears up to the August poll.
Siasa ya mawe na matusi ilipitwa na wakati. Sasa ni siasa ya maendeleo na vitendo na kusameheana.
Tuchunge amani ya taifa letu, maana baada ya uchaguzi tuko na nchi na lazima tubaki kama ndugu na dada.
For Sunday Express, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, the government has assured the country that there are adequate stocks of petroleum products in the country.
Petroleum and Mining Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau says the country has close to 81,000 cubic meters of petrol in stock, also taking into account a daily uplift of 9.4 cubic meters of the commodity.
A number of towns and cities reported a biting shortage of fuel.
The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has since warned the oil marketing companies, depots and retail stations against hoarding petroleum products.
Timothy Kipnuse takes stock of the towns and cities most affected by the fuel shortage.
Nakuru City. Long queues of motorists waiting to fuel are witnessed in a few outlets operated by multinational oil dealers, as others remain closed due to the fuel shortage. The queues can be seen spilling over to the streets and subsequently causing heavy traffic in the busy town.
Tumesumbuka sana kutafuta mafuta. Imefika mahali ambapo gari langu limesimama barabarani, ikabidi nitafute vibuyu niende nikatafute mafuta.
Almost all the petrol station across the town is very dry. And we are wondering why this is happening.
Chaotic scenes of desperate Boda riders hooting in protest of the shortage are seen as they mewed at hiking of their charges. The same script was replicated in Kisumu City as motorists camped to have a liter or two of the now rare commodity.
Na tumezunguka sana. Hii ni kati ya pahali pa mafuta pa pekee pamebaki hapa Kisumu.
In Sia, the scene here was telling, with a few stations with the commodity putting a fuel purchase ceiling of 1,500 shillings in a bid to ensure they meet the rising demand. The situation was similar in Mombasa and Voi towns.
Magari ikifika sisi sasa tuwaelekeza kwa stations zingine, at least tuangalie kama iko, lakini wao wanarudi wanasema wamekosa. Sasa tuomba serikali iangalie hiyo ukosefu wa mafuta.
Many petrol stations, especially those outside Nairobi County, have been without stock for days now.
Kazi yetu imekuwa ngumu sana kwa sababu mafuta sengine yanakosekana, alafu pia ikipatikana yako bei ghali sana.
And in Mandera town, most of the service stations are now threatening to close as motorists have resolved to purchase of oil products in the neighboring Somalia and Ethiopia. Interestingly, some of the filling stations have now turned to be a parking area.
Petroli hakuna, mafuta hakuna, na sisi hatuchukui mafuta ya Somalia. Amekatazwa mafuta ya Somalia kabisa.
The pumps are usually fed by independent petroleum dealers. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, has warned the oil marketing companies, depot and retail station against holding back sales of petroleum products, saying the action was punishable by law.
Wale wanauza petroli wanaficha petroli ili waongeze bei, na ilali tunajua kwamba serikali imeleta fuel ya kutosha katika nchi.
Petroleum and Mining Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau has said there is an adequate stock of petroleum products in the country. Timothy Kipnoso for Sunday Express.
Actually, now, the daily uplift is actually 9,400 cubic meters of the fuel. But the shortage is quite biting. I don't know whether you've seen petrol stations and what is happening there.
The sad thing about it, though, is that it's actually looks like it's man-made. The shortage. I mean, from what the story.
Yeah, those who seek to make ill profits out of holding the fuel.
That's the sad bit about this particular crisis. But it's a developing story, and we'll stay on top of it for you. We'll keep updating you on how this pans out. Now let's go back to matters politics. Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga has assured residents of Turkana County of enhanced security, improved infrastructure, and expansion of the local economy that relies mostly on livestock farming.
Speaking Sunday in Lodwar town, Turkana County, Raila said if elected, he will change the face of the arid region into an economic zone.
Zaidi ambayo tutaangalia ni mambo ya amani. Banake bila amani hakuna maendeleo. Ama sivyo?
Azimio la Umoja presidential hopeful Raila Odinga led his brigade to Lodwar in Turkana County on a vote hunting mission. Raila pledging to prioritize key sectors in the region such as health, security, road network and livestock if elected in the August 9th polls.
Tutafufusha ile cooperative society na hiyo kiwanda ya samaki kule katika ziwa ya Turkana. Sawa. Vile vile ile kichinjio ya ng'ombe pale maana yetu Lomidat. Sio vile vile sio tu kufufusha, lakini tutapanua ili tuweze kuchinja ng'ombe hapa kwa wingi na tunapeleka mpaka kule Ulaya.
Mungu tusaidie. Hii serikali ya Azimio la Umoja One Kenya ichukue mamlaka. We will cause traffic jam in Lodwar. Haiwezekani kuwa magari ni machache mno na hapa biashara ya watu wetu iko hapa Southern Sudan.
He took the opportunity to promote his Baba Care proposal, saying citizens will be able to access medical services without straining.
Ingine ni mambo ya hospitali ya hapa Lodwar kuimarishwa ifike katika level 6 kama ile ya Eldoret, sio ile. Hakuna haja ya wagonjwa kutoka hapa kwenda Eldoret, watatibiwa hapa Turkana, hapa Lodwar. Sawa.
Other leaders on the campaign trail drummed up support for Raila Odinga's presidency, terming him as a defender and a goodwill fighter.
Raundi hii tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 mutatokea kupatia Rais Raila Amolo Odinga kura.
Watu tunaweza kuchagua president na tumepata mtu wa imani wa kuchagua president wa 5 na ndiye Raila Amolo Odinga. Kwa hivyo tukubaliane kwa kauli moja, tubadilishe Kenya, na kubadilisha ni kuchagua baba wa mabadiliko. Tukitaka kubadilisha ni kubadilisha na kuchagua watu wema kutoka kiti ya chini mpaka kiti ya wapi?
And now the provost of the All Saints Cathedral, Samuel Wainaina, says poverty in the country has reached alarming levels.
Speaking during a special service to pray for political aspirants, Reverend Wainaina noted that Kenya has created a system in the country that impoverishes some while enriching others, saying Kenya has enough resources for all.
Wainaina at the same time has called on the political leadership to be prudent in the management of the country's resources.
On Sunday at the All Saints Cathedral in Nairobi County.
Give our leaders and the candidates the wisdom to
A special service was held to pray for political aspirants for the various political seats in the August elections. It is here that the All Saints Cathedral provost called on the church not to shy away from its role of identifying, supporting and eventually holding political leaders accountable to their actions.
You identify someone, you encourage them, you support them, even if it's financially or otherwise. And once they become, we do what? We now hold them accountable. If you don't want to listen to a political aspirant, walk out, go. You're not forced to listen to anyone, but don't throw stones.
Echoing the words of NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua, Wainaina urged Christians to lead by example and identify leaders that are visionary at all levels of government to ensure smooth running of the country from the counties to the national level.
If you have a great president and you have a shoddy MCAs or members of parliament, or you will have a good president up there. But let me tell you, the services now that are devolved, people will continue to be poor.
Wainaina further noted there is a widening gap between the rich and the poor, saying the level of desperation among Kenyans is worrying, saying this does not glorify God.
We have created a system in this country that impoverishes some and enriches others. It is evil. This country has enough for each one of us to enjoy.
Former President Mo used to say, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. Go forth and use your numerical power to elect people who fear God and who have integrity.
Among aspirants present included presidential hopeful Ruben Kigame and Mwaura Wahiga. Nancy Okwari, Sunday Express.
Right. The church must always speak truth to power.
Yeah, indeed. Now let's stay with matters politics. A section of civil society groups in Kenya has commended the Supreme Court over their ruling of the Building Bridges initiative.
The ruling, of course, the criticism was because of the judicial independence, or affirming the judicial independence, as Ruth Mboi now reports.
With the Thursday landmark ruling by the Supreme Court of Kenya,
Kenyans are waiting to see which way forward. According to the civil societies, the BBI bill proposed self-serving political changes that go against the will of the people.
The decisions that have been made by the current leadership and also those that are in opposition to be able to push an initiative that is against the Constitution leaves Kenyans with doubt and also trust in the people that we are going to elect in the general election.
It curtails abusive and excessive power of the state and non-state actors through the values and principles of good governance.
We have seen amendments that watered down the post-independence constitution, the massive handles to the adoption and implementation of the current constitution from the 1990s to date. That is from the time of Moi.
In Mombasa County, rivalry between Mombasa Women MP and her opponent Zamzam Mohamed, who want to dethrone her through the ODM ticket, continues to escalate with rigging claims in the just announced ODM polls.
Very ready for nominations. Ndio maana nimesema tumetengeza posters, banners, tumebrand magari, tukijua tunaenda nomination tukitembea kila sehemu. Kwa hivyo venye board watakavyoamua ndivyo itakavyokuwa.
Mimi nimekuwa ground and it's time yule mwenye yuko ground apewe haki yake. Wala asija kuwa favored na mtu yoyote.
Elsewhere, former Kitui Governor Dr. Julius Malombe, who is attempting a comeback, has urged Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to issue him with a direct ticket in the party primaries.
They were told to subscribe to a card which was called K-Chick by paying 1,100, and they will be able to access all the facilities in this county without paying. Currently, there are no medicines in those particular hospitals, and the people are crying.
On the same note, former Nairobi Governor Dr. Evans Kidero makes a comeback as independent candidate to vie for the Homa Bay gubernatorial position. Kidero was among the political bigwigs who had their nomination funds refunded by ODM party after giving a direct gubernatorial nomination ticket to the outgoing woman representative Gladys Wanga. And Serfine presidential candidate Jimmy Wanjigi now claims the poverty index has rose from 38 to 58%. Wanjigi spoke in Kutu's town Sunday after handing over a vehicle to IPCA Bishop Peter Mwangichege.
All that think like you, all that believe that governing, you're a king. There's no kings here. We are all equal under the eyes of God. And this is now the time for us as leaders to give back to the people.
Reporting for Sunday Express from the county of Nairobi, I'm Ruth Wamboi.
All right, from that cocktail of political stories, it's time for us now to take a very short break right here on Sunday Express. But still more lined up ahead for you on Sunday Express tonight. We are going to be talking about child nutrition, and my guest is already in studio, Veronica Kirogo, the Director of Nutrition and Dietetic Services at the Ministry of Health.
Of course, after the break, we'll also talk about teen pregnancies, some sports, and then head over for that interview. Don't go too far.
Nilipimwa hospitalini, kabainika nilikuwa na TB.
Nilianza matibabu ya TB mara moja. Nilimeza dawa zangu bila kukosa kwa muda unaofaa, kama nilivyoshauriwa na daktari.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Don't ever insult her again if you don't want me to rip what's left of your face.
Yeah, why don't you try? What do you know about this planned development with some investors in Costa Alegre Bay?
I don't trust that woman, much less any business she brings in.
It would mean a lot to me if I know that you're not against it.
Pata matibabu bila malipo katika hospitali zote za umma. Tujijali, tumalize TB. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Wizara ya Afya na washirika wake.
If you missed the developing story of the multi-billion Boda transport subsector, here is your chance to catch the full story. The KBC special report on the Boda, the good, the bad and the ugly story will run again this Sunday from 10 p.m. Don't miss the Boda story, the story of our time, right here on Channel 1.
Mwongo mmoja umekamilika. Twarejea kwa udi na uvumba, kwa vishindo si haba, nderemo na vifijo. Tulia tuli, maana mambo si kama kawaida tena, kwani kupitia runinga yako ya KBC ushapata tarehe. Vitimbi kila Jumatatu jioni saa 1:35. Usikose. Get ready for the next big thing.
A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman.
So we need to start bringing out the profession in a woman. When we demonstrate, they will come when we've been tear gassed, not when we want to pass the message.
The Dada's Show is back, a show where women get to be themselves and discuss real issues.
She cannot allow other women to come on the same space because she's getting different privileges from men. So akiona mwanamke, ako like, this is a competitor.
This being an election year, we have given an opportunity to women to express themselves and share their expectations during this critical moment in our country.
The issue of corruption and how it has impacted women and children in this country.
Create jobs for the informal sector, create jobs for the youth who leave the universities.
Hatutaki bora uongozi, tunataka uongozi bora.
Keep your heels, head and standards high. Dadas, coming soon.
Welcome back. You're watching Sunday Express. A section of villages in Uriri constituency of Migori County are taking advantage of the dilapidated roads to impose taxes on locals using roads passing through their land.
The locals say they are forced to part with cash to access the roads, which they use as alternatives since the main roads are impassable.
Kabwana village in Uriri, Migori County. Here, makeshift toll stations are the order of the day. The only roads which are passable here pass through private land. Murky public roads rocked with potholes and poorly maintained are the other alternative. And to access the so-called private roads which are well maintained by a group of youth here, you have to part with a fee.
Wenye wanakuwa hapa na tena venye tulijadiliana na wenye walikuwa wanataka wapite hapa. Tulikaa chini, tukaongea, kwa sababu barabara ilikuwa haiwezi kapitika.
The locals say they pay more than 200 shillings daily to access two villages that have been separated by the dilapidated roads. Locals pointing an accusing finger to the area leadership.
The way people are being taxed here every now and again is quite unbecoming. Hence, we have got our area MP, whereby this road is purely meant for him. That is the junction from Kabwana up to Ongeto, and even proceed up to Timlichoenga. All the time, even during the drought, this place used to have a lot of water here, and we don't know how those water are coming about.
And until the main rural roads are rehabilitated, the locals here will continue paying the self-imposed taxes, or they alternatively wade through the murky waters in the name of public roads.
Saizi tunaomba serikali, mwenye anatulinda, tafadhali, hatutaki uchochezi yoyote na tunataki tatizo lolote na wenye ardhi huu. Tunataka barabara itengenezwe na hao wote wapite.
Frederick Muki for Sunday Express.
Now on to news across the counties. Before we get to the counties though, that's a very innovative way of making money in Migori County.
I mean, absolutely, because you think they're providing a solution, but then again, for your convenience, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, it's my private land. So, but the government, the county government or the government, whichever
it really
body,
it
really needs to do something in that particular section of the country. Now, let me take you to the counties. Inmates at Manyani Maximum Security Prison have called on the government through the Ministry of Education to fully absorb those who are taking primary and secondary education examinations into the formal schooling system.
Volunteer teachers at the prison say it is evident a great number of inmates have shown interest in pursuing formal education and need to be supported.
This and other stories in our county news wrap.
Speaking during the 2021 results celebration at Manyani Prison, volunteering teaching fraternity called for construction of classrooms for inmate students and refresher courses for inmate tutors in the prison. Manyani Prison emerged one of the best performing with a mean score of 311, with top candidate emerging with 401 marks in the 2021 KCPE.
Kama umetupatia opportunity ya kuweza kuendelea na kufanya masomo kama hatujafanya huko nje, na wameamua kusupport kwa moyo wao wote. Nafasi ikipatikana ya kwamba resources zinazotakana katika shule, anything yenye inakuwa probative value kwa mwanafunzi iweze kuwa available, iweze kupatikana.
We believe that with the better facilities or with more resource being pumped into this area, we can be able to make better citizens from the prisons.
A group of Catholic women from Igembe North Sub-County have come together to give back to the less fortunate members of their community. According to Catholic Sister Maria Catherine, the leader of the group said some of those in need are the elderly and those living with disability, noting most community members have forgotten about them.
Na ilitubindi tutie nguvu kabisa, tuone tumeondoa hizi pusa kwa watu wetu. Ndio tukapanga kama hiki kikundi tusaidie watu wetu.
Elsewhere, leaders drawn from Thika have called for equal opportunities in Form 1 selection, saying private school students should be treated equally like their counterparts in public schools. Speaking in Thika during the closure of a 3-day private school teachers training on the newly introduced competence-based curriculum, the leaders decried what they termed as discrimination of their students, who they said are often sent to far-flunked regions instead of being accommodated to schools of their choice.
I don't see why a student from Kiambu is sent to Marrar and then a student from Marrar is sent to Kiambu. I don't understand the logistics behind. Can we, if it is Marrar and they need good schools, there is devolved funds. Let us build those schools. Let us make them to be national at the local levels. It is possible. But now this issue of now sending Kiambu goes to Kirifi, to wherever, that one, as an educationist, I want to say it has very negative impact to our students.
Finally, the top candidate in Busia County says she wants to pursue her dream of becoming an astronomer. Esther Aroche, a former pupil of St. Teresa Busia Girls Primary School, who scored 423 marks in KCPE, is calling on well-wishers to support her secondary education. Beatrice Getonyenge-Tich, Sunday Express.
Now, every case of teen pregnancy tags along a myriad of challenges.
Life is never the same again for the affected, as Diana Katunge found out when she visited a rescue center for teen mothers in Ukunda, Kwale County.
Behind this wall lies a safe haven for a girl child. As these kids do their things, they are oblivious of why they have to live with their parents in this enclosed place. Welcome to Kebene Children's Home in Ukunda, Kwale County.
We have the Kebene Children's Home where we usually rescue the small kids, the vulnerable. So during our field visit, when we were going to the family to rescue those kids, it's when we found out that we also, there are young teenage girls who are pregnant.
15-year-old Sophia Pema, not her real name, narrates how her biological father defiled her and made her pregnant. She has since given birth.
Sasa walipoolewa wale dada yangu mwenye alimaliza class 8 nikabaki mimi hapo nyumbani. Sasa mimi ndio nilikuwa mkubwa hapo. Akawa sasa ananitishia tu maisha huyo baba. Ananitishia maisha kusema kwa mimi nikikufanya haya mambo usiende kusema, niko ukisema nitakuua hapo hapo.
Pema's father eventually went for her from the sister's place, but on their way back, father turned against daughter.
Hiyo siku nikaenda shule asubuhi, nikatoroka tena nikaenda kwa dada yangu. Akaja kunichukua tena usiku saa 5. Ninaenda nyumbani na njia yenyewe ni msitu.
Sarah Charo, not her real name, is 16 years old and has been in this home for 2 months now.
Niko na mvulana mwingine akamwambia dada yangu, ile dada yako nilimpenda. Ndio kuja nyumbani akanambia mvulana asikumpenda. Dadangu akanambiaje? Ani mkubali tu akusaidie, unajua vile nyumbani tuaishi.
Being a minor, Sarah could not tell why her body was behaving differently.
Nikamwambia aunti yangu mwingine, kulikuwa na aunti hapo. Kwanza nikuje mpaka leo sioni period. Akanambiaje? Kesho tena kupima, kaenda kupima nikapatikana na mimba.
Kwale County is among counties hard hit by rising cases of teenage pregnancies. According to the government of Kwale Children Officer Dominic Kasamba, 152 cases of teen pregnancies were recorded in the first quarter of 2022. As teenage pregnancies continue to threaten many girls, not only in Kwale County, but also worldwide, now stakeholders are stepping in to intervene in the young girls' dreams.
Right, great reporting there by Diana Katunge. Of course, really just bringing to the fore the plight of teen mothers in the country and how it affects, their livelihoods.
It's time for us to take a breather, but of course, when we come back, we'll do a bit of sports, and then Serfine will be engaging Veronica Kirogo, the Director of Nutrition and Dietetic Services, and they talk about nutrition, a very important conversation. Don't miss it.
Yeah, true. Do stay for that and much more. The sports is also coming your way shortly as we take a break now.
Nilipoanza kukohoa, kuhisi maumivu kwa kifua, uchovu mwilini, joto jingi mwilini, kutokwa na jasho jingi usiku, kukosa hamu ya chakula na kupoteza uzito haraka. Nilipimwa hospitalini, kabainika nilikuwa na TB.
Nilianza matibabu ya TB mara moja. Nilimeza dawa zangu bila kukosa kwa muda unaofaa, kama nilivyoshauriwa na daktari.
Ugonjwa wa TB sio uchawi. Mtu yeyote yule anaweza kupatwa na ugonjwa huu, lakini ukimeza dawa vizuri, TB inatiba.
Nilitibiwa TB, nikapona na niko sawa.
TB inatiba. Pata matibabu bila malipo katika hospitali zote za umma. Tujijali, tumalize TB. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Wizara ya Afya na washirika wake.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
If you missed the developing story of the multi-billion Boda transport subsector, here is your chance to catch the full story. The KBC special report on the Boda, the good, the bad and the ugly story will run again this Sunday from 10 p.m. Don't miss the Boda story, the story of our time, right here on Channel 1.
time for sports now. Kenya's Judith Jeptum broke Paris marathon record today after clocking 2 hours, 19 minutes and 48 seconds to win that victory this season. After winning this year's race, the 2021 Abu Dhabi marathon winner slashed the previous course record of 2 hours, 20 minutes and 55 seconds set by Purity Rinuripo of Kenya in 2017. Fantu Jim of Ethiopia was second, more than 3 minutes behind Jeptum. Her compatriot Besu Sadu completed the podium. Ethiopia's Deso Gelmisa won the men's title in 2 hours, 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Meanwhile, Kenya's Margaret Chelimo Kipkemoi clocked 1 hour, 5 minutes and 26 seconds to emerge victorious in the 2022 Barcelona half marathon. Ethiopia's Gele Elemaehu and Asnakash Awoke finished second and third respectively. Kenya's Elvis Chiboy finished third in the men's race behind Haftu Teklu and Chala, that is Chala Regasa, both from Ethiopia. Karan Patel secured his third victory this season after winning the African Rally Championship Equator Rally today. Patel won 5 out of 8 stages, including the practice session. The 3-day event held in Naivasha, Nakuru County, acted as a curtain raiser for the WRC Safari Rally Kenya set to be held in June.
And to the man who is not stopping, presenting to you the champion of this year's event, Karan Patel.
Navigated by Tausif Khan in a Ford Fiesta, Karan Patel emerged victorious, though the cross suffered a broken drive shaft on day 1. Patel stayed ahead of his rivals to win Kenya's round of the 2022 African Rally Championship for the first time in his rallying career.
Sleeping Warrior is as expected. It's the same as last year in terms of the rough. The rough is still there. It's just a bit of few changes here and there. So that's a challenging stage, ideal for what we call a safari rally.
Zambian Leroy Gomez and his wife Ushila maintained the lead on the overall standings of the 2022 African Rally Championships after finishing second in the Kenyan event, driving a Ford Fiesta. Jasmeet Chana, navigated by Ravi Chana, finished third. Jeremy Wahome, the former F3 renowned driver, finally scored career-best results by finishing 4th overall in one of the major rounds of the Kenyan rally. Wahome, navigated by Victory Okundi in a Ford Fiesta, finished over 4 minutes behind winner Karan Patel.
2.5 days of excitement, 2.5 days of a bit of torture for the drivers. But for us, my goodness, what a show you put on. We enjoyed it thoroughly.
Kutokana na sababu ambazo wajua tena mambo na magari, mambo mengi yalifanyika, sio wote walimaliza, lakini mmoja wetu ambaye ni member wa Lioness aliweza kumaliza mbio hizi za ARC.
It was important for us to come here today and support the event, which is beautifully organized, and to support our Lioness sister, Maxine Wahome, who did extraordinarily well today.
The event acted as a curtain raiser for the upcoming WRC Rally Championship set to take place in June. With the ARC Equator Rally coming to an end today, all eyes now shifts to the WRC Rally Championship set for June. For Sunday Express, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Ida Salima Germain scored 422 marks in the 2021 KCPE exams, 6 marks less than the best student countrywide, and she attributes her success to hard work and the game of chess. Ida Germain has been a chess player for just over 2 years, but she is yet to compete in a major tournament both nationally and internationally. Here is a short story of a 14-year-old who wants to join the Kenya High School.
Born in a family of 3 children, Ida Salima is the second-born girl of Fred and Lillian Lukoye, parents who have done their best to see their kids shine. And one of those shining moments came when Ida Germain scored 422 marks in the just concluded KCPE exams, attributing her success to the game of chess.
It's mom who introduced me to chess. She just started talking about it and I just wanted to engage myself with it, so I asked her to show me some tutorials on the YouTube. So I started teaching myself from there, and I was now able to play chess
Ida believes that since she started playing the sport, her thinking has improved immensely, and she is now targeting to play the game at the highest possible level. It was her mother, Lilian Lukoye, who in her childhood never got a chance to compete in sports, that introduced her to the game, bit by bit learning online.
I realized that chess sharpens the brain, and I already knew my child had good brains. So I was looking for a sport that will sharpen it more.
Ida's mother believes that sports and education can go hand in hand.
That's why I encourage the government to equip the primary school and even the secondary schools, because children have so many talents that are not supported at school.
Ida hopes to join the Kenya High School in Nairobi, and as much as she also wants to excel in school, she will not quit playing.
Whenever you grow up, there has to be something, a new role that is added to you, and I've taken this chess game as my new role, and I'm willing to, whenever I grow up, I'll make sure that it is a part of my life, because I'm the one who wanted to engage myself with the game.
The 14-year-old is proud of her achievements and will soon be competing in the local tournaments, especially school events.
Sometimes people just need to have fun.
Barclay Feather, Sunday Express.
In our conversation tonight, we talk about child nutrition, and our guest is already in studio, Veronica Kirogo, the Director of Nutrition and Dietetic Services from the Ministry of Health. And about now, we take a small breather. When we come back, Serfine Achieng will be engaging Veronica Kirogo.
The management, staff and students of Mary Shaw School wish to convey our congratulatory message to the KCPE candidates on their well-deserved success. Well done and congratulations on passing the 2021 KCPE exams.
Mimi sieti nakupenda na kuhurumia tu.
Unavyolia sana ni kama omboleza. Sio vizuri.
Mimi sitaki maneno mengi, lakini kama ukijua kila mtu atarudi alipotoka. Bali umefanya nini? Sivyo unavyofikiria kaka.
Your talent, dedication and hard work have led you to victory. Mary Shaw School, home of the boy child.
All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We now kickstart our interview for the night, and it's about child nutrition. Just taking you through how the situation is like. Did you know that an estimated 2 million children in Kenya, that's about 26%, are stunted, and of course 4 in every 10 of them are not exclusively breastfed, and only 1 out of every 5 children in our country are fed in accordance with the 3 recommended complementary feeding practices. I will be telling you more about what these numbers mean, and of course we having this conversation just a few days after the country held its first national maternal, infant and child nutrition symposium. What were the take-homes, and how does this seek to change the narrative in the country going forward? And to have this conversation with me, I'm having a sit-down with Miss Veronica Kirogo. She's the Director of Nutrition and Dietetic Services at the Ministry of Health. Thank you for creating time for us. All right, so we begin straight away by just, something that is very crucial in the overall growth of a child. And I believe as you respond to this, you'll tell us more about what these numbers mean. The first 1,000 days, they say, are make or break for any parent and for any child. Probably let's begin this conversation by you telling us why this is important, and what are some of the missed opportunities that a majority of parents usually, do not really consider.
Thank you, Safi. As you have mentioned, the first 1,000 days, what does that mean? This is the period between the conception and the child's second birthday. That adds to 1,000 days. And this, we call it, is the window of opportunity because with a solid nutrition foundation, it will take that child to adulthood with a potential in terms of productivity, in terms of survival, reduced risk of childhood illnesses, and therefore it's a great opportunity to intervene in terms of nutrition. Mm-hmm. In fact, when you look at the first 2 years, when a child is undernourished and get to a situation which we call stunting, which is short for the age, and this stunting, even if it's short for the age, it's physically and cognitively. So when you see a child who is stunted, it means even in terms of intellectual capacity, it's also stunted. In fact, stunting is such a is such a bad thing in terms of child productivity when they grow up. And most of these of the changes when one is stunted, they are irreversible. And therefore, it is important that we take advantage of the first 2 years so that the child gets the nutrition they require to fuel them for adulthood. Mm-hmm. You also find that during this period, it's also the period of boarding, and also even where we also introduce what we call nurturing framework, so that the child is able to know socially, to love, to bond with the people around them, and get that in terms of social kick when they grow up. Mm. And now looking at our country, 26% of the children are stunted. In 2019, we conducted a cost of hunger report in Kenya, and we found that in 2014, because that's the 26% was through the Kenya Demographic Health Survey that was done in 2014.
That Kenya, was way back.
It was way back, but currently the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, they are already on course in doing the Kenya Demographic Health Survey 2021. So as a country, because of that stunting, we are losing 374 billion shillings per year because of child stunting. And these are costs due to health-related cost, education cost, and productivity cost. Because when a child is stunted or undernourished, they fall sick more often, so they have to go seek for health care. That's a cost. When they fall ill, they miss education. They are also not attentive in school, so it makes them repeat grades. That's a cost in education. When they grow to adulthood, their productivity is diminished compared to a child who is not undernourished.
All right. We could be having this conversation and assuming that each and every person understands when you're talking about child nutrition, what it takes to achieve that. Probably it's also good for you to also tell a parent who is watching or a caregiver who is watching, what does it take to achieve, that substantial nutrition for your young one? What is it that is required? Is it food? Is it the general care that you give the child? What is it exactly?
Thank you. When it comes to infant and young child feeding, we normally follow guidelines given by the World Health Organization and UNICEF. And the recommendation is that a child should be initiated to breastfeeding within 1 hour of birth. And that's why in our maternity facility, there is breastfeeding counseling so that mothers can be able to attain that. Then that infant should be exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months. Nothing else apart from breast milk. Not even water. Not even water, because the breast milk is well balanced. It has enough water, it has all the nutrients that the child requires in the first 6 months. After the 6 months, we go into a period we call complementary feeding period. And here is where you introduce nutritionally adequate food to the young child. and continue breastfeeding until the child is 2 years or beyond. And then after that, we now get into now the feeding of the other 5, where we say that that child should be able to receive at least 4 food groups out of the 7 that are there. That's the diversity. But you find that in Kenya, when it comes to diet diversity for the young children, only, you said it, only 22% receive what we call minimum acceptable diet. And therefore, it could explain why we are having the level of malnutrition for children under 5 that we are currently experiencing in the country. And that's the reason why we held the first symposium on maternal, infant, and young child feeding, whose theme was promoting maternal, infant, and young child feeding through appropriate complementary feeding, because we see that as a country we have a gap in terms of complementary feeding. And the tagline was Lishe Bora, Maisha Poa, every feed counts.
Every feed counts. And in just a bit, you'll be telling us what were the key take-homes. What way forward are we looking at as a country? But just before we get to that point, what unique challenges do you think, lead to such a big number of those who do not attain the basic nutrition requirements for a child in our country? I'm talking about 1 in every 5 child who are fed in accordance to what we call the 3 recommended, complementary feeding practices. And you've cited it's 22% if you look at it cumulatively. What could be leading to, such big numbers of those who are locked out of what is required in the growth of a child?
When you look at the child undernutrition, the immediate causes, first is inadequate dietary intake and diseases. So the cause of inadequate dietary intake could be household food insecurity, which in many of the household, like now we are having the drought in the ASAL counties, so food insecurity become a challenge even in making sure that the children are feeding as required. And when the child is also undernourished, I said they fall sick more often. So there are diseases which require more nutrients, which that the child is not getting at that point, and that is a vicious cycle. The other issue is also the lack of adequate child care, and this could be maybe because of limited mother education in terms of child care, or even the caregiver. So they are not, they don't have enough knowledge to know what the child requires. The other cause is what we call hygiene. When there's maybe poor water and sanitation hygiene, then it can predispose the child to illnesses. And this also causes now malnutrition. So it's a vicious cycle, and as you look at the causes, it actually means malnutrition is not a health issue alone, because there's food, there's safe water, there's education, and therefore it's a multi-sectoral way of approaches to address it. And even during the symposium, that is one of the key take, that no single sector can be able to address malnutrition. We need all those sectors, education, health, water, agriculture, social protection, to work together in order to eliminate malnutrition in the country.
All right. Well, something pivotal that you also mentioned earlier as part of, the overall well-being of a child is the social aspect of it, which a majority of parents are finding hard to achieve, especially now that you have to run around trying to make money to, fulfill your obligations. But something fundamental you're saying there, even the social aspect of just bonding with your child, creating time for them, is also good for how you bring them up, right? I want to find out whether this symposium that was just concluded, what were the key take-homes, and do they in any aspect seek to address some of the fundamental challenges that you have raised that cause malnutrition among our children?
Thank you, Safi. The symposium, why did we hold it? You find that there's a gap between research or academia and the policy and implementation. And therefore, we wanted this symposium to be a platform for sharing researches, especially focusing on complementary feeding. And you would be amazed because we received about 68 abstract, and out of those 60 qualified for presentation, and we had 36 that were presented orally, and 24 were presented in poster form. And from this abstract, they were cutting across the system. And that's why we are talking about system approach in addressing malnutrition. We had from food system, we had from the health system, social protection system, wash system, and education system. And therefore, as a nutrition sector sat during the symposium, we were able to get quite good researches that can inform policy or programming in maternal and infant and young child nutrition. One of the take-home was that we need to strengthen the multi-sectoral coordination of these sectors that are addressing child malnutrition. The other one is that as nutritionists, we need to change our mindset so that we are tackling household. When we are going to the household, we are tackling diverse actions that all together will be able to influence nutrition status, not just of the child, but also of the mothers and the other household members. We also looked at currently there's a declining donor funding for nutrition activities, and therefore we need now to think quickly how then do we transit to domestic resourced funding of the nutrition intervention. We looked at one case that was presented, a very good approach, match funding, where the donor put a shilling and the government put a shilling, depending on the proportionality that is discussed. And this will, in the long run, ensure that the government is able to fund a nutrition program even as the donor pull out.
All right, those were beautiful take-homes, but we hope that they will not gather dust, the papers that were presented, that it will actually, be made practical so that the general populace can benefit from that. I wish we had more time to even dig deep into this, but I don't want us to wind up before we shed some light on a controversy that recently, really elicited mixed reactions, especially for parents online. That was news that went out there that breastfeeding, that feeding bottles were actually banned, and we attracted even the international attention as a country, just to shed some light on what exactly the Ministry of Health is seeking to do, and probably was it a ban, or what exactly are we looking at?
Thank you very much. Yes, I know last week, of course, that issue not only affected health, it affected trade. But as the Minister of Health put it, we had a press release on Friday and really clarified that feeding bottles are not banned. Because, banning is to complete usage of the bottles. But what the ministry is doing through the regulations that will come to effect on 30th May is to regulate the labeling of the feeding bottles and other designated product. Maybe if just to take the viewers back, Kenya as a country enacted the Breast Milk Substitute Regulation and Control Act in 2012. And this was in line with the International Code for Marketing of Breast Milk Substitute that was endorsed by the World Health Assembly in 1981. And after enactment of the Kenya Breast Milk Substitute Act, we still found that there is continued inappropriate and aggressive promotion of breast milk substitute, which the Act was regulating. And therefore, we felt that there are certain clauses in the Act, because the Act, the key thing there, it's regulating marketing, advertising, and promotion of breast milk substitute, but also promoting breast milk, breastfeeding, and also proper use of breast milk substitute when necessary. When I say breast milk substitute, these are the infant formula. And when the World Health Assembly introduced the code, it was because it was found that the infant formula are actually curtailing the promotion of breastfeeding, and hence the code.
But what about circumstances where breastfeeding is actually not practical? For example, a mother who died while giving birth, or a mother who has to go away from the child for one reason or the other. I mean, what happens under such unique circumstances?
That is well addressed in the Act, because the Act does not prohibit the use of a breast milk substitute. And that's why it says where necessary, proper use is what is advised. Therefore, if a child, if let's say a mother dies on childbirth, then the doctor will be able to prescribe, if it is the infant formula, or if there's a donated human milk, available, that is the next option of feeding those children. But in terms of you said about if you have to go to work, right now we are actually teaching mothers how to express breast milk, store it, so that when they're out of work, the baby can be fed.
All right, I wish we had more time for this conversation, but as a parting shot, the feeding bottles are not banned. At least let's give some hope to our parents out there. They are not banned.
They are not banned, but come 30th May, the feeding bottles, infant formula, teats, pacifiers, they will have to carry a label with a warning saying breast milk is the best.
All right. We look forward to that, and I hopefully we'll have another sit down to break down that particular act, so that we explain further what regulations and control it is introducing. Thank you so much, Miss Veronica Kirogo from the Ministry of Health. We really appreciate your time tonight. And on that note, that's how we wrap up our conversation on Sunday Express. It's been quite a comprehensive bulletin. I've not been doing this alone, together with John Jacob Kioria on the other side. Kioria, it's over to you.
Absolutely, it's been a wonderful and fantastic week. As we put a cap on Sunday Express, enjoy the rest of your viewing and indeed the coming week. Have yourself a good night.
#97#.
Nashukuru